Let's start with a quick overview of my today's presentation. Here's here's a big agenda that we guide us through each key section. I start with a brief introduction, followed by problem statement and research question to set the context. Then I'll delve into the methodology and examine results. We will then discuss the implications of our findings before moving to conclusion. In the end, we will have Q&A session to answer and even if you have any questions. Before moving forward, I would like to share a bit how this topic is important to me and close to my heart. I came from South Asian background and I was born and raised in Pakistan. When I grew up in Pakistan, it was not just about sustenance. It was an integral part of my daily life and social fabric. In South Asian cultures, sharing food is a way of expressing care, building relationships, and fostering communities. Meals are often shared in large gatherings where the act of eating together serves as a strong platform for connection. These experiences, along with my research background, have influenced my understanding of the roles that food plays in social and community life. Let's start with a brief background of the study. Social eating is a practice that is deeply rooted in cultural traditions worldwide. Communal meals can enhance social bonds, increase community resilience, and promote overall well-being. Recognizing these benefits, countries like Canada, Japan, and Brazil have incorporated social eating practices in their official dietary guidelines, encouraging individuals to socially eat with anyone. We see this in action through various initiatives that foster social connections and around food. For example, community food centers in Canada erect spaces where people cook and dine together, while the Family Dinner Project in USA encourages families to come around the table regularly. Another example is the Big Lunch in UK, where drinkers come together to share meals in different settings. All these programs serve as a strong platform where sociality can bring communities together and promote individual and collective well-being. So, in modern societies, social eating is becoming rare and rare. It also reduces the opportunities for social connection. Fewer people engage in communal eating. This also increases the feelings of social isolation and loneliness, which also impacts their mental health. Lack of communal meals can also lead to social structures where communities had the opportunity to foster dialogue over food and enhance cultural understanding of different cultures. Considering these issues, it is really important to revitalize community eating practices in our society. So where is the research gap? There are many studies that highlight the benefits of social eating for individual well-being, but there are very few studies that explore the diverse ways in which these practices can be tailored to meet the specific needs of different cultures and how they can enhance community resilience. So my research question is, how does social eating contribute to building connected and resilient communities across different cultural contexts? We employed this method's research design with two different phases. In the phase 1, we disseminated CSCS survey and we explored different data for sociality variables. Our second phase consisted of focus group interviews where we explored diverse perspectives and we introduced individuals with lived experiences and we asked them how they navigate through sociality. The Behavior Social Connection Survey is a cross-sectional survey belonging the subcohort. The aim of the survey is to study social health and the well-being of Canadians in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. This survey is being conducted in a partnership with General Project, researchers at Simon Fraser University and the Institute for Social Connection. These are some of the key variables and we studied in our research. Demographic variables including age, gender, ethnicity, household income, immigration status, disability status, and dietary restrictions. Well-being variables included social loneliness, emotional loneliness, anxiety, depression, self-rated physical health, and self-rated mental health. And then we had two variables related to the frequency of social eating. One was generic, and one was by partner type, who you eat with. We also asked participants for their agreement with with wide-ranging statements related to the social eating. Using an open text question, we also asked participants to identify the places where they are engaged in social eating. For focus group interviews, we contacted participants who provided consent during the CSCS survey. Additionally, we also used social media with a diverse group of participants to ensure that we have perspectives from different backgrounds. In total, we conducted semi-structured interviews with 30 focus groups, and each group consisted of 3 to 4 participants. Each session lasted 60 to 90 minutes over Zoom. Audio and video both were recorded. Our eligibility criteria restricted 8 ethnic communities, including English, French, Indigenous, African, Jewish, South Asian, East Asian, and Southeast Asian, and 3 communities with specific nutritional needs, including vegetarians and vegans, people with glucose intolerance, lactose intolerance, gluten sensitivity, or any other allergies, and lastly, we also included sober individuals. The CSCS survey results were analyzed descriptively. We looked in the pattern and trends of the data. For specific analysis, we applied regression models. We used linear regression for continuous outcomes and logistic or multinomial logistic regression for dichotomous or multi-level outcomes. For open text question, we analyzed thematically. If we talk about focus group interviews, our transcripts were generated through Zoom recordings, and then we analyzed different themes and topics in our data. So what the results shows us? How often do people engage in social eating? Results from our qualitative and quantitative data indicates that social eating is widely common in our societies. In fact, only 10% of participants reported never social eating in the past month. 58% reported social eating at least on a weekly basis, and 32% reported social eating less than weekly. However, in our analysis, who people eat socially with, you can see most of the social eating occurs with significant others that may include your partners or spouses, followed by your roommates and parents. However, social eating was less frequent among strangers and co-workers. 71.4% participants reporting social eating with strangers yearly or less than yearly, while more than half of the participants reported social eating with their co-workers a few times a year. What are people's attitudes and beliefs towards social eating? So if we look at this graph, more than half of the people enjoyed eating food from other cultures, followed by more than half of the participants who felt closer to people after sharing a meal with them, and less than half of the participants believe that it is easier to socialize if there is food available to them. We also noted some challenges and barriers to social eating, and one of the biggest barriers to social eating is the highest cost of food. More than half of the participants reported food in their community is too expensive and it's really hard to afford. And a small portion of people believe that dietary restrictions restricted them to involved in social eating. How does social eating take place in Canada? Using an open text question, we asked our participants to identify places where they are engaged in social eating. And our aim was to create a map of phone services. However, participants identified variety of places, and most of them were not primarily focused on providing food. So instead of getting a map of food services, what we did, we analyzed those responses thematically. We classified organizations into 6 types. Community and social service organizations include food banks, soup kitchens, senior centers, and volunteer organizations. Educational and professional institutions include departments, workplace events, school-related events, and conferences like we are having today. Cultural and festival events include cultural events, national events, and religious celebrations. Markets, fairs, and community events include farmers markets, artisans markets, street festivals. Sports and recreation events include social clubs and community garden activities. Food and beverage venues include restaurants and cafes. So, what are some of the factors that are associated with social eating? To better understand the phenomenon of social eating, both in terms of impacts and the factors that drive social eating phenomena, we examine demographic and psychosocial. We examine the association with demographic factors and psychosocial factors. With respect to demographic factors, we found that social eating is associated with lower age, indicating that the frequency of social eating decreases when the age increases. Social eating is also associated with higher household income. Our study didn't find any association with gender, ethnicity, immigration status, disability status, or dietary restrictions. Regarding social and mental health outcomes, our study found that social eating is associated with lesser emotional loneliness, lesser social loneliness, lower levels of depression, but our study didn't find any association with anxiety levels, celebrating mental health, or celebrating physical health. These are some of the themes that we identified through our focus group interviews. Theme 1 states support social connection and interaction. The focus is on creating environments that encourage conversation and interaction, such as communal seeking and interactive activities, fostering a sense of belonging and enhanced connection. Subject to second theme, which is community engagement in social eating, there is a principle of dignity and respect, ensuring that food is provided without any stigma. Our third key states that social eating acts as a strong platform for cultural exchange, where individuals come together to share and appreciate diverse culinary traditions and foster mutual understanding. The fourth key focuses on inclusivity, particularly in terms of cultural and personal dietary restrictions within social eating programs. The fifth theme focuses on the importance of nutritional balance along with enjoyment in social eating programs. This entails that providing culturally appropriate foods, ensuring that they are also nutritionally balanced. The theme of economic accessibility in social eating programs is very important, and the aim of this theme is to ensure that all the events in a community are inclusive and every member is included in the events without any financial burdens. So these findings underscore the importance of shared meals in our lives. Social eating is frequent and common, playing an important role in our social and communal life. Participants in the study emphasized how social eating is important to them and how large a role food plays in shaping social gatherings and relationships. Our study also identified some challenges related to social eating, including cultural acceptability, personal dietary restrictions, and the cost of making food, especially in case of potlucks. Despite these challenges, social eating has far-reaching benefits, and this is one of the reasons we are emphasizing the need for its integration into public health strategies and food services. Food serves as both a foundation for social connection and can be a source of potential contention. On one hand, food brings people together, foster a sense of belonging in communities. However, on the other hand, it can also create barriers, especially if the food is inaccessible, unaffordable, and culturally inappropriate, which leads to exclusion and isolation. Navigating this tension requires careful thought about how we curate social experiences. This involves being mindful of cultural differences, personal dietary needs, and the systematic factors that shape the availability and accessibility of food. If we focus on these elements, we can create inclusive and more supporting environments where food will continue to play its role as uniting people, not dividing them. Here is study staff references that supported my work. So I love this photo. This photo is from our recent lab gathering, and on the right you can see a very familiar and inspiring figure in social health, by supervisor and mentor Topper Kibertat, and rest are our team members. So you can see the power of human connection in every smile. Yeah, that's all.
Great presentation, Yukra. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Did you, I don't know what the sample size was, but were you able to stratify the results by, say, relationship status, single versus married? Because I noticed the majority of folks were engaging with their partner for the social eating. So was that it?
Actually, the sample size was quite small, and it's for the cross-sectional study. But in this year, we disseminated the CSCS survey again, and we have a large sample size. As you asked this question, I remember when I sent my presentation to my supervisor, he also asked me the same question. The only problem was that our sample size was small. But as we have a cohort sample, so we plan to do this analysis in our cohort.
Could you comment on the relationship between income and socially? And I'm curious to hear some of your thoughts around why that might be, and maybe skipping towards policy solutions that work.
Yeah, so basically, what we found in our study is that social eating is associated with higher household income. It means that if your income is high, you are more involved in social eating. But if your income is low, you are not involved in social eating. The reason maybe is that the cost of food is increasing at all today, and there is an inflation. So this might be a barrier for people with low income. I hope this answers your question.
Yeah.
I'm going to say thank you very much, Idro, with respect to your conversation. I'm delighted that you spent some time to us talking about food, my favorite subject. So thank you very, very much. I'm going to